I'm Rob Webb, also known as Tetsuo the Great, and otherwise known as Tetsuo Man. I am here with my friend Josh Scott, and today we are going to be talking about Brand New Day. Overall, one more day and Brand New Day. This is a little bit different than my last video. I know I said I wouldn't probably do another video like this, but I am. So, screw you if you thought I wasn't. Anyway, so I am going to do it, and this is probably going to be better because I actually have somebody to talk about this with. And if you didn't get the name, it's Josh Scott, and he's a close friend of mine, and also, like me, wants to write comics and wants to do film, and we're going to talk about all the crap that happened with Spider-Man for 2009, as well as probably retread some stuff with One More Day and whatnot. Okay, so where do we want to start?
I don't know, I would just like to start with why Spider-Man's a fucking whore.
Why Spider-Man is a fucking whore? 'Cause Joe Quesada wishes he could still play the scene.
So basically, it's wish fulfillment.
You could
for Joe Quesada. That's all it is. Is he wants to reprise, I guess, his glory days before he was married, if he even had glory days. So,
well, yeah. Did I tell you the whole thing in an interview about One More Day? He was talking about how he worked at FAO Schwartz, and that he'd be like, yeah, and this is back in the 80s. And he's like, yeah, I would sleep, I would take days off when I wasn't sick, and I'd be playing Zelda on the Nintendo while my two girlfriends would be with me in bed.
Why not just make it Tony Stark? And this is my question. I mean, is it because he's cliched? It's like, this dude's Tony
No, because Tony Stark has to be the asshole who was pro-registration. Didn't you get the memo?
Yes, because Tony Stark is just such a government asswipe like that. I didn't even get Civil War, to be honest. I mean, really, let's figure. The people who have been pro-registration, it almost fits in some weird, fucked up way. Like, or as far as I understand, you basically have what comes down to a conflict of interest. You're dividing the superhero world. When you're dividing the superhero world, you're introducing the idea of conflict within what was essentially understood to be a brotherhood of superheroes. I mean, they may have their differences, but it's not like they're, enemies, at odds with each other across the universe because they have different views of the government, and let's have Captain America go at war with Iron Man over who's in the government's bed. Seems like just an excuse to get to Brand New Day.
Yeah, it kind of was, and that brings us right around to what we started with, which was talking about Spider-Man and Brand New Day, One More Day, and all that.
And everything you sound like from what you've described on it, whatever you read on Wikipedia and various other things, it seems like what they're going back to, if they're saying they're going back to classic Spider-Man, it's not classic Spider-Man. Classic Spider-Man is supposed to be a nebbish young man who isn't sure of his place in the world, doesn't really know how to talk to girls. Sure, he may flirt with them, and maybe even have, quasi-lovey-dovey, 16-year-old dumbassness with him and Betty Brant and various
Although you did have stuff like Gwen Stacy saying, do you want to see I Am Curious?
Fair enough. Fair enough. But we're not even going into there. Because it's not like he was just like a man whore and wearing a mask, so no one would
know who he was.
So when you say the Spider-Man role plays, that's what I'm getting.
It kind of seems that way because what had happened in one of the recent issues in which Black Cat first popped up in a really long time, since One More Day, and basically there's that whole bullshit about she doesn't know he's Peter Parker. She knows that she knew who Spider-Man was,
right,
but she doesn't know. And they end up, I guess, having sex. I don't know.
And he basically takes advantage of her.
He basically takes advantage of her and says, don't look at my face, don't look at my face, because I don't want you to know my secret identity, which sounds pretty misogynistic.
Well, essentially, and also because this is Spider-Man. I mean, that's what I can't get past here, is this is Spider-Man. And we're going back to the fact that, okay, I'm assuming, is he still in college even?
No.
So you basically turn him into a dropout. They take the fact that he is probably the third to fourth smartest person in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
If you actually look under the level of scientific genius, you have pretty much Doom, Richards, possibly Stark or Banner, and then Peter Parker.
Yeah.
I mean, he's like right up there. He's not meant to be understood as Johnny Storm.
No shit. Even though I never understood, because they always try and fit him and Johnny Storm as being best buds, and I never understood that. Especially since the early comics, they were always at odds with each other.
Oh, fair enough. And they're not even they're completely different. And if you're gonna do this with Johnny Storm, let's say Johnny Storm got fucking married, and then Mephisto's like, "Hey, I'll destroy."
All they had to do was they kind of did that, but it was no, she was a Skrull.
Fair enough. But that's Johnny Storm. That's not Spider-Man. Spider-Man, it's basically like taking Jesus and then rewriting the Bible and be like, yeah, not only did Jesus maybe had marital sex with Mary Magdalene, he screwed every other woman in Galilee.
Jeez. We're gonna get in trouble for that.
Probably. Now, am I necessarily saying that Spider-Man is Jesus? No.
Spider Jesus.
But he is to me. He was like, okay, when you're like 9 or 10 years old and you just like read about this guy dressed in kind of a weird like red and blue costume, and, fights guys and wisecracks and jokes. But you have him like that, and then you have his social life, which he quite frankly doesn't have any social skills. And now it's basically like, and he developed, yes, maybe he did develop into more of a confident person, maybe even a little bit of a womanizer. I wouldn't even say he was a womanizer, but at least flirtatious. And
yeah.
At least, maybe he had sex with a few girls, possibly Felicia Hardy.
And possibly even Betty Brant while she was married. Because that was
possibly, but that's all later.
Yeah.
So we're going to rewind him. But they don't rewind him quite back to the beginning.
No.
That's what even doesn't even make sense. It's not like we're rewinding Spider-Man. We're basically rewinding him to the point where Joe Quesada feels like he can most relate to him right now.
Yeah.
In the sense of completely not relate to him, but wants to be.
Yes, exactly. That is kind of like what is going on. And a big part of that is, and I don't want to say it, but it almost seems like, yeah, it's a wish fulfillment for Quesada that he wants to be this guy. Because he's even seemed like he's... But then everybody found that picture of him dancing with a stripper. Probably was his bachelor party, though.
Probably.
But I made a banner, and I still have it, saved. I think I saved it on my computer or something. And it said, it had that picture, and he was dancing with a stripper, and it said, it's magic, we don't have to explain it.
Right.
Which, let's get back to One More Day, and I was trying to explain the whole logic of it, because you said it just made no sense.